The history of U.S. containment of China in the Western Hemisphere has evolved from Cold War ideological opposition to a modern two-front strategy focused on geo-economic rollback and hemispheric security. 1. Cold War Era, 1949–1991. Initially, U.S. containment in the Western Hemisphere focused on preventing the spread of communism broadly, rather than Chinese influence specifically. Ideological containment. Following the 1949 Chinese Revolution, the U.S. suspended ties with the PRC and focused on isolating communist ideologies. Regime change. The U.S. backed various coups in Latin America to replace left-wing leaders with right-wing ones, a policy rooted in the Truman Doctrine of Containment. Shift to détente. By 1972, President Nixon's visit to China signaled a shift, seeking to use China as leverage against the Soviet Union. 2. Post-Cold War and engagement, 1990s–2010s. For several decades, the U.S. prioritized engagement over containment, attempting to integrate China into the global system. Economic integration. The U.S. supported normalized trade relations with China in 2000, believing economic prosperity would lead to democratization. Pivot to Asia. Under the Obama administration, the pivot to Asia began reorienting U.S.'s strategy toward containing China's regional expansion, though it was often denied as an official containment policy. 3. Modern two-front strategy, 2017 present. Recent years have seen a return to explicit containment, viewing China as a structural threat to the Western Hemisphere. Hemispheric security. The U.S. now treats reducing China's influence in the Western Hemisphere as a top national security priority. This includes countering Chinese investments in critical infrastructure like ports, telecommunications, and energy in Latin America and the Caribbean. Geo-economic erasure. Current policy involves a systematic rollback of Chinese presence, aiming to deny China strategic depth in the Americas. Information countermeasures. The U.S. works with regional allies to counter China's media influence and malign activities that undermine democratic governance. Monroe Doctrine revival. Strategists increasingly view the Western Hemisphere as the indispensable core from which the U.S. can compete with China globally, reinforcing Monroe Doctrine principles of excluding external powers from the region.